Dobar dan, buenas noches, boa noite, bonsoir. It's as many languages as I've got. Good night. Josefsky here coming in. It's Friday night. What does that mean? That means my life has changed. I've become a dullard. Instead of being in the club, I'm at home doing a live. Because frankly, there is really nothing. There's not a lot I can do in Sarajevo on a Friday night, I'm afraid, in December. The city is not exactly rocking right now. So so what I've been doing actually on a Friday, because I work solo at home and I'm on my laptop a lot, although I do speak to a lot of people in the week, I've been going out on a Friday and just going to... Actually, often I've been starting my Saturday cold approach session. I'll start it on a Friday night. So I'll go to the mall, maybe chat to a few people in the mall or something, or even just do some approach in the street on Friday night. And then that would give me a kick on for Saturday. But actually today, I couldn't even be asked. This is what happens at the end of when I'm in the last few days of my time in a country. I start to mentally and emotionally disconnect from it, and that starts like the weekend before I leave. So I'll do a little session tomorrow, but it's not going to be my normal session. It's not going to be my normal cold approach session. It's just going to be just keeping a few things ticking over. So tonight I literally went down to town and just went to a coffee shop, just hung out. It's nice to just be around people. Yeah, that's a good thing to do if you're a solopreneur, you're traveling around the world and stuff. Some nights just going out, just to be in a place, just to be around people. You don't even necessarily need to talk to people. Just people watch, take your book, take some business videos and what have you. So that's what I've done tonight. And yeah, so now I'm back in here and we're going to do a little live, Friday night live. Yeah. And the topic I have to begin with, and the title of the stream is the rather clickbaity and crass and vulgar, in my opinion, what I learned from living with a billionaire for 5 months. But it's actually true. I've actually done this. I've done many different adventures in my life, but this was one quite, relatively early on. So I'll break down this whole story. And this was a theme from Sinner to Winner in the Entourage, and he said, "What's your angle on health versus wealth?" Let me just pull up his exact question, so I can really address it if there was anything specific in it. Let me just pull up the question here. Health over wealth. Yeah, insights. I'd love to hear your insights regarding health over wealth. Fine. So I'll talk about that. But yeah, the title of the stream, what I learned from living with a billionaire for 5 months. So let me tell you the whole story. Let me tell you the whole stack. So this would have been 2010. I was 24 years old. And when I was finishing up my studies, this was just after the economic crash of 2008, which actually was very severe. People probably I don't know if they realize this, but my generation, so I'm 39, so my generation of people, it was very, very difficult. People coming out of their studies, they're all ready to go. The economy's been booming for like the last 20 years. Everyone's like, oh, great. Now I'm ready to go and get rich or go and have a fantastic career. And what actually happens is like extraordinarily high achieving people are going and they're like driving taxis and stuff. Like it's actually crazy. It was actually crazy. So anyway, so I was going into how much details do I give here? I was applying for different lines of work. And one of the lines of work I was applying for, let's call it, is in the field of, let's say it's family services. Let's say that. It's working with families. And the first roles I applied for were actually in Russia, Moscow. That's the first roles I applied for, and I got to the final round, but I didn't get them. And the first break I got, the big break I got, was in the south of France. The big break I got was in the south of France. So I went down to work for. I got a call on Wednesday from the agent. I spoke to the family on the Thursday. I spoke to the dad, who was a billionaire, and he said, "Can you get here for?" I think he said Saturday, and I said, "I can." Yeah, I basically said yes. Uh, so yeah, so that's basically what I did. It was February. It was fucking snowing. So I got my stuff. I went to Sheffield Town Centre the next day, bought a load of stuff, and then literally I think I drove. No, I was the snow forecast was like abysmal, and the roads were going to be blocked the next day. And I booked a flight for I think for the Friday or Saturday, and I rang a guy who has like basically a driving company, a driver essentially. He does airport runs. I said, "Can you take me in like 3 hours to Luton Airport because I've got to get to France tomorrow?" And he's like, "Yeah, fine." And we went down, and it was like snowing. It was a real mission, real difficult to get down. But anyway, so we got down there, and yeah, I go and work with this family for 5 months, and I'm working with specifically the son in this family. Let's just say that. Um, and so I spent 5 months living with a guy who is, I just checked out before I came on the live. He's worth over £1 billion. Um, I don't want to give his exact amount because there's actually a lot of people who are worth that much, though it sounds strange to say that. It's worth over £1 billion. If I gave the exact amount, I'd probably be able to find him because it's like you just look on the rich list or whatever. But yeah, he's worth over £1 billion. So I go out to meet this guy, see the family and stuff. I'd been prepared by the agency that I was working with. There was a fairly dysfunctional family, so I was ready for this. That was part of the reason they sent me, in a sense, because they knew I'd be able to handle it. And it was an amazing fucking experience, to be honest, for like a load of crazy reasons. Um, in fact, let me just tell you the whole fucking story. Why am I not giving the whole story? So I'm an online teacher now. I'm an online teacher. But in my early incarnation in teaching, I was basically a private tutor to elite high net, like basically ultra high net worth families. That was who I was working with for the first couple of years of my career. The ultra high net worth, not high net worth, ultra high net worth. So my first job was down, my first set of work. First of all, there was the Russia jobs, which I never got. Um, but my first jobs were in the south of France and in Monaco, Monte Carlo. So those are my first jobs. I'm just going to give you the full story because otherwise it's just I'm going to be thinking, I'm going to be overthinking it. And so yeah, so I went down there. And I'm 24 years old, right? And so I'm like, I won't give any client names or anything like that, but I'm like, I'm just hanging out with these people who are actual billionaires, and I'm 24. And I had a friend down there, he was the same age, and we're just doing stuff down there. We're just doing loads of teaching and whatever. And all of these people have their own crazy situation in life, and they actually have very specific requirements for those situations. And so one of those guys needed a private teacher to come and essentially get his child ready for moving to England. His child had been raised in France. So I went over with that. And they knew that I'd worked with teenagers before because I started teaching in 2000. Before that, in 2008, I was working in Madrid. So they knew I had a lot of experience with teenagers. They knew I had a background in professional sport as well. So guys, weird people in here, I will not be responding to any of your questions because they're all stupid, okay? So don't ask stupid questions, I'll just block you. In fact, you're going, mate. You two are going already. Get off, mate. So, yeah, where was I? They knew I had a background in sport. They knew I'd worked with teenagers. They liked my profile. And they thought I would have the gravitas, basically, to deal with these people, which I actually did, to be honest. And the main reason I did The main reason I did, um, the main reason I did was because the main reason I did have that gravitas was honestly because I didn't really care. I didn't really care. I'm getting my paycheck. It is what it is. It's not. It's a goodish paycheck, but I don't really give a shit. Um, my value system was just like I have my own value system. There's things I respect and revere. I just don't care if you're a billionaire. So that actually worked in my favor because I was able to go and just be normal because I truly don't care. And I didn't care then and I wouldn't care now. But I don't dismiss the achievement, but I just don't care. So um, yeah, that was an interesting experience. And in terms of the guy I lived with, so as I say, he was a billionaire. I also lived with another family who was probably net worth would be about 400 mil, something like that. That type of region. They were kind of like middle class in that part of the world. Um, and then I also worked with a member of European royalty as well. That was interesting. That was an interesting little placement. And it all sounds. I feel very crude and crass for actually mentioning these people because this is one of the things I hate. Is like, oh, I was hanging out with this person, or I know this person who's rich, and it's like, I don't give a fuck, mate. I don't give a fuck. I hate people who do that, but I'm doing it because it's YouTube. But yeah, I feel very crass for that title, but it is what it is. Um, so yeah, Jacob, mate, I lived with a billionaire because I was working as a private teacher for high net worth clients. So that's how I lived with a billionaire. And stuff that I learned, so stuff that people think. So yeah, there was a few people there I worked with who were serious people, a really real bunch of characters, from ranging from just an Uber entrepreneur who had 6,000, I think six, or maybe more now, probably 7,000 employees all over the world, started from nothing. So that this was a hyper business guy. That was the billionaire. To guys who were the heads of hedge funds. So they own their own hedge funds. They set up hedge funds, and they were the 3, 4, 500 million guys. To European royalty, to an actual pretty hardcore gangster who I stopped working with because he was way too threatening. But he was very wealthy. He's very wealthy, and he all sorts of. This guy had been into all sorts of shit. I don't think he could. I don't think he could travel much. I think like if he went to quite a few countries, he'd have just been arrested straight away. Yeah, very crazy guy. Um, and then also a famous sports agent as well. Famous sports agent worked with. And it all sounds like really fucking exciting, but at the end of the day, for me, I really didn't give a shit because they're just paying me what they're paying me. Like, I truly, I wouldn't care as long as you can pay my fee. I don't give a shit. So it's literally nothing to me if this person's a billionaire or not because it's just an interesting story, essentially. Yeah, the children were interesting. So, but let me talk about the people first of all. So I noticed a big difference between the entrepreneurs and the bankers. There's a really big difference between the two. The bankers were much more like they were very waspish American types. Like waspish means white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. That's what they were. And I think one of them was from Switzerland, but the other one was American. I think there might have been a Canadian in there as well. And they have their clients and they have their portfolio of clients, who are other high net worth people, and they invest on their behalf and they do well with their investments and they make a lot of money. And yeah, it's interesting. I think one of them, I think he basically owned like quite a bit of South America. I think he'd done something like he'd bought some weird bad debt in South America that people thought wasn't going to get paid off. But it actually turned out that did really well, and he made an absolute fortune off it. Uh, but I think that guy had literally been down to like zero, almost gambling with like his clients' money. But it all paid off in the end. Um, but yeah, so there was just a difference in their presentation. The entrepreneur types was way more dynamic, way more dynamic. And the banking types were operators for sure, but they were way more reserved on the front end. I think cared a lot more about what people thought of them, basically. I remember one guy, he was almost like a model or something. Like he was in his probably late 40s, but he was almost like a model. And yeah, like the teenage girls used to swoon over this guy. It was funny. So in terms of the people themselves, that's what they were like. The royalty was quite interesting as well. Actually, was quite dynamic as well. Interestingly, some real interesting characters for sure. Um, Now, this is something I think would probably be quite useful for people to be quite useful for people. Let's get this idiot out. Quite useful for people to know is, well, there's a few things actually, and I know this because I actually lived with these people for months on end, and I also, even the ones I wasn't living with, I was spending some time with in quite intimate quarters. One of the thing with the guys is with the guy these very wealthy guys is, and this is why I know a lot of the stuff on YouTube is essentially not really, it's just bullshit basically. Is the three characteristics that characterize these people that I would say: number one, intelligence. They're obviously very smart, and cunning as well. Cunning as well. Very cunning. Number two, this might surprise you, aggression. Yeah, especially the entrepreneurs, they're the most aggressive people I've ever seen. Hyper aggressive, hyper aggressive. But that was channeled into business. And I'm talking almost unchecked aggression, but it was channeled into their business. Um, but even like, it was almost like there was like steam coming off them all the time in terms of, yeah. And that was the entrepreneur. And then also restlessness as well for the entrepreneurs. And I think the banking guys, I would say honestly, would just be basically two-faced, essentially. And I know this because I'd hear them on calls and they were vicious on calls. Almost like their voice was almost snake-like on some calls where they had to really, there was something, it was really interesting hearing it, where like something was on the line and they were pissed about something. And the absolute snake comes out, like a chilling kind of tonality. And then with their families and stuff like this, it's all Mr. Nice Guy. Super fucking interesting. Quite passive in some cases. Yeah, quite passive. But it didn't, I think you can be passive when the whole situation, your house, you're going out on the boats, you're just having this like fantasy life. When you've created that, you don't really have to do anything else. You don't really have to. It was so interesting. And yeah, so that was just such an experience. A lot of these wives as well. Some of these wives would like flirt with me as a young guy as well, and I'd see them flirting with like personal trainers and things like that. They would obviously never do anything, but it's quite interesting to see that as well. Like your husband is a literal, actual like, you know, mogul. He's like he in the hundreds of millions. Yeah, yeah, like a billionaire. Yeah, a billion is 1,000 million. Okay, let me just repeat that. A billionaire is worth over 1,000 million. Well, 1,000 million. 1,000 million. Imagine being worth that much. The first guy I went to work for, who was the billionaire, so I got picked up from the airport by the guy's ex-wife. This whole situation was fucked, dude. I'm not going to give too many details, but I went out to their premises. They had several premises, but I went out to one of their big ones, and it's fairly nice. Like I'm looking at it going, yeah, this is pretty nice. It's what I would expect from someone who was fairly wealthy. A bit of land, nice big house and stuff. Nothing actually that crazy. Like there's way crazier houses in that region, way nicer. But it was just, yeah, it was nice. But then we're going down and I see a helicopter fly over and it's got like water spraying out of it. I'm like, the fuck? And it's like, oh yeah, that's just a helicopter. He's just watering his crops. So this guy just for fun, like, because this is not his business, he just set up like farming and stuff like that, just so he could almost like have helicopters flying around, just fucking mental, dude, like spraying his crops. What the fuck? Um, so yeah, he had all sorts of stuff going on. He just like he did businesses just for fun. Like he made his house into like a business just for fun. But he was a very restless guy, very restless, extremely aggressive. His family basically all hated him. Uh, I don't know. His ex-wife was still around. He'd had children with multiple different women. I don't know what his situation is now. Probably unmarried. I would hope. I think he's had a vasectomy. Um, interesting character. Interesting character. Uh, just extremely driven. Extremely driven. Extremely driven. Like extraordinarily driven. I've met a lot of driven people in my life, but he was up there. He was up there. It's not necessarily the case that the more driven the person, like you can be very driven but never get to that type of level. You could be, for example, a professional footballer. Some that was my ambition when I was younger, to be a professional footballer. This is one of the reasons I got into that field of teaching the high net worth, because the agency would be like, oh yeah, we've got this guy, right? He's got a very good rep in his early teaching career, but he's actually got a background in professional football. He actually left school at 16 and did all his studies in his own steam and stuff like that. I'm not saying this to brag, but it's just like this is what got me through the door with those jobs, because it was like, oh wow, this is really cool. You can imagine, right? Like I can take the kids out. I did all that stuff with them, teach them free kicks and whatever. So it's just interesting, like these, yeah, what people buy into. Um, so that's what got me through the door. But yeah, like just in the world of football, there's loads of hyper-driven people, but they're going to be really successful if they're good enough. And there's loads of like third division players often hyper-driven. Yeah, people don't realize this. Non-league players often are. You might even say they're the most driven because they're not even getting paid that much, but they're still doing it as intensely as the people who are getting paid hundreds of thousands, right? So in sport, there's lots of driven people, but they're not going to ascend to the level of a fucking billionaire, right? In art, there's lots of driven people. In all sorts of areas, right? There's lots of great driven people. That particular guy I'm thinking of, he was just like just a business animal, like an actual, almost like nothing else entered his head, actually. Nothing else entered his head. Um, but he did have some respect for like, he had a bit of some respect for like things like he'd read speeches and things like that, like political speeches. He admired politicians, like big politicians, because he saw his empire and like the empire of a nation. He saw them in quite a similar way. Um, I think I had good insights into this guy's mind because his office was next to my bedroom. So when I'd finish working, I'd just go and chill, and I'd hear this fucking maniac bellowing away in his fucking office. The abuse he would give his staff, man, unbelievable. But what was so interesting is, um, this was so interesting in my field is because I'm working with their children, I actually get treated with like I got treated with quite a degree of reverence because at the end of the day, they need their kid to be sorted out, and I was the person doing it. So that was interesting. Like, it was interesting to be like, I'm here, I'm working for you, but I'm outside your realm of influence. Like, if you piss me off and I fuck off and leave you, you've got a problem. Yeah. And you've probably already had a lot of other people who've done that. I'm willing to stay because I can hack it. I can hack it. I had a bit of pride. Like, they'd send me to like Russian clients and stuff who were like, the kids are like, yeah, these kids are like start smoking cigars and stuff in the classes and things like this. And then these like, like dainty, like female teachers, they just like, oh my God, they just like leave. So they'd send me in, yeah, the enforcer, you know. Um, so yeah, so that was my experience with these ultra high net worth. That might be interesting for anyone, like entourage guys who are just curious about that. What characterizes those people? Number one, I'd say would be aggression. They're not all these like, they're not what people that was, but that was a specific set. That was a specific set. But I would hedge a bet. Someone like Musk, for example, I would hedge a bet in the background. I would hedge a bet he's a fucking animal, which you won't see in the foreground. I'm almost certain of that. You know, just on all the time, bang, all the time, ready to go, all the time. Um, so yeah, those are the people. Is there anything else I would say about that experience? In terms of health, it's a cliche, isn't it? But a normal like a rich man wants, or no, a normal person wants 1,000 things. Uh, a sick person wants one thing. Now, actually, this connects to health. This connects to health. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so let me just answer a couple of these questions. So, just a person has said, "How do you push the children to learn?" Depends on the family, depends on the child. This is why I don't actually work with clients on that level very much these days, because their natural motivation, the natural person has a motivation to learn because they've got career motivation. They want to ascend the ladder in society, or they want to at least have a good life. When you're 12, you're going to inherit millions of pounds, even if your family disown you, you'll still could probably inherit millions of pounds. Like, so when you know that, where's your motivation? When you're a 15-year-old and you've got a personal trainer and a chef and a chauffeur, where's your motivation? And so what I would have to do is basically come in very professionally and tread this very narrow line between, I can't just bollock them and just tell them, look, you know, if you don't pass this, you're fucked. You know, I wouldn't obviously swear, but I can't just do that. Whereas that might, with a normal kid, that's kind of implied. And occasionally you might need to say to someone, look, yeah, you are not on track to pass. So we can either work and do this properly, or I can leave and you can, and you know, I'm not going to waste your parents' finance. I'm not going to waste our time here. You can do that with like normal middle class kids, and that you don't need to really because they've got natural motivation. If very occasionally you need to, but with those kids, it's difficult. You have to tread a fine line. So basically, what I would do, I would just keep showing up. I'd keep showing up, and um, keep pushing, keep being. There's a bit of diplomacy that goes on, but at the same time, not taking any shit whilst also being diplomatic. It actually does take quite a lot of skill, to be honest, to work with kids on that level. Um, I don't think a lot of people could have done the role that I did, and because there were other people who came in and fucked it up, to be honest with you. And you know, I'm not saying it was unique. There were other people who understood what the role was, and they were good at it. Um, but yeah, that's a good question. How do you actually sort those kids out? My friend actually, he continued on in that part of the world, and he continued to create a company. And his company, although it's an education company, basically what the company really is send your kids to me, and they won't become coke addicts when they're 25. That's his company. That's not what he advertises, obviously, but that's actually what the company is. Um, and this actually, I'll link this to the UK system. Now, one of the things in the UK, which is often quite maligned, is the so-called public school system. These very elite private schools like Eton and Harrow and all this type of thing, where the great and the good send their children. Um, and they're often maligned by, you know, people like the Guardian, all these fucking do-gooders. But actually, I think they're actually quite a good thing, because if you're worth, let's say, you're worth 100 mil, 500 mil, you're a billionaire, and your kids are at home, they're going to have servants, they're going to have everything. Even if it's the parents are just, even with the best will in the world, the stuff they're going to let slide because they're just so easy for them. And so what they do is they ship the kids off. You can go to one of these schools, you get really high standard of academic education, and you basically, a lot of these schools are based on the military, the old military. So they get actually a fucking lot of discipline in some cases. And actually, I think it does them. I think it actually is. I think it's quite a good thing. I think it's quite a good thing. Um, yeah, there's a bit of, those schools, from what I've seen of them, the kids who come out, they're kind of like a product. They're all the same. They're kind of just like a product. They don't really have any personality. But that's probably better. You're probably better being a product than like a fucking cokehead. Um, so let's have a look here. So yeah, so we've got here. So money and making you healthy was a good metric. Complacency, yeah, connect to the current state of affairs to be able to save the world. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think guys on that level, it's pretty hard to lose that much money, to be honest. And they've got advisors as well. Yeah, Prussian discipline. Yeah. They've got advisors and things like that, Richie. So they've got people who, you know, they're actually being taught about wealth management as children. I've had a 9-year-old giving me investment advice. I remember that. And it was really good advice. I've never heard it anywhere else either, because his dad was a hedge fund owner, and it was really interesting. So it's this idea that this is another myth of the United States, that everyone who like grows up rich and stuff, they all just become, they're just down and outs, and the kids are spoiled. That's a massive risk, and it definitely happens. It definitely does happen. But actually, equally common, maybe more common, is they actually take things even to a higher level quite often, or they just create a kind of dynasty where they've just got investments, and it's just, you imagine it, if you're educated in money by your dad, who's a multi, who's like worth like $500 million, and then he's educating you, and then you take it on, you and your brother take it on, and you're driven because you want to beat him, and you're actually good as well because you probably have some good genetics. They actually, some of these families down there, they create multi-generational dynasties, so that's another thing that can happen as well. Some of the fucking characters down there, man. So yeah, in terms of like health versus wealth, um, yeah, I don't know though. The stress of some of these people, particularly the entrepreneurs, the big ones, they're not going to live to like old age. To be honest with you, they're not going to live to old age. They didn't look great. They were a bit obese. They drank a bit too much. They were a bit too angry. Um, yeah, isn't so? Let me just get some of these questions. Prussian discipline. Yeah, so Richie is a very disciplined guy. He's a very driven guy, and you would be more in the mold of some of these entrepreneurs. You'd be maybe a bit in their mold. Um, this is what I'm saying is you can be a super driven person, but there's only a certain type of profile of human being who's in, and all everything is. There's also a few things that have to line up as well. Right place, right time, and there's lots of things that have to line up to get to that level. So it's not necessarily the case. Like, I know people as driven as those guys, but they don't have quite the same psychological makeup. Probably not as ruthless. Probably not as aggressive. Probably not as manipulative. Um, and they get really far, but they don't get quite to that level, you know. But I don't even know if you fucking want to. Um, yeah. Isn't it all origin race based? Interesting point. That's another question, isn't it? No, I would say no. I would say no. Those dynasties, you have to actually make something to begin with. Where there's like, especially if it's entrepreneurial or business related, it's like the great granddad's business that started, and it went and went and went. Um, or it's the dads or the granddads, if it's that type of business. For the actual entrepreneurs, there's just all sorts really for the entrepreneurs. Um, yeah, immigrant non-white millionaires. Interesting. I would say it depends on the arena. There are some arenas where it really doesn't matter. If you start a cleaning company, and you're cleaning airports or something, you've got the best cleaners or something, you're getting big contracts at all the UK airports. It's random. The reason is I know someone who did that. It really doesn't fucking matter where you're from, you know. the system and stuff like that. You know, the UK now, I'm going around a Muslim country here in Bosnia. I swear to God, I see more girls in veils in the UK. I'm not even joking, in Sheffield. So I don't, the UK is so plural now. But yeah, some places like Holland is wealth genetic. There's a, well, wealth generation is based partially on your wealth generation is there's obviously many things that go into it. Genetics would be one of them though, for sure. Yeah, for sure it would be. Your natural drive, your natural intellect, they're a factor, of course, yeah. Um, yeah. There is, yeah, obviously there's people who yeah, Richie, there's people who do it, yeah. Exactly. How do you work yourself up to the top? This is the big question. This is the big question. I'll snorkel, you little fucking pussy. Get off my channel, you fucking loser. Get the fuck out of here. I'll just remove you guys, man. I swear to God, if I don't like you, I'll just lose you, man. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. That's just little pussies, man. Just get off my channel. But yeah, if you inherit, I think I think people who inherit, I don't, so let's say, for example, Trump, he inherited, right? Look what he's done with it. He's become president of the United States. Like, I don't think that was easy. Yeah. And then, yeah, people who work themselves to the top, sure. There's a lot of people who inherit who fuck it up, though. There's a lot of people who inherit who fuck it up because they don't have the skills primarily, and they don't have the drive. I think it's actually more about the skills. I think it's more about the skills. The best thing you could possibly inherit from family is maybe a bit of work ethic, but if you had someone who shows you a bit of the ropes in business, that's ideal. That's ideal. So yeah, and then health versus wealth. Most of those people were fucking dysfunctional. Honestly, like the richest guy was one of the most dysfunctional people I've ever seen. Literally one of the most dysfunctional people I've ever seen. His whole family hated him. It is what it is. The other guys, it was variable. As I said, their wives like often flirted with me and other people as well, trainers, piano teachers who come in. You know, you're worth X amount. Because here's the thing. Was finances, social status, legal status, immigrant status, whatever, those are all just human rules. They're all human rules, right? They're all human rules. Systemic, whatever you call them, right? There's a system in place, whatever, but it's all human society. They're all human laws, right? There is another law, the law of nature. And the law of nature cannot be broken. You could commit financial fraud, but you cannot defraud nature. It's not possible. You cannot defraud nature. You can't eat 10 donuts and then you somehow like lose the calories and you get ripped. You can't defraud nature. Cannot be done. Even if you take steroids, you still can't defraud nature because of the biological cost to it. So the rule of nature, and that comes on to women as well. There's a rule of nature in play with women. And there's a rule of nature in play with the health of the body. And so that's the rule, that's the rule book that I frankly focus on more. You have to, in my opinion, because you can't break those laws. You cannot break the laws of nature. You get, start eating too much, you get out of shape, you're not working out. The rule of nature dictates. The rule of nature doesn't give a fuck if you're a billionaire. It dictates your health is going to decline. Let's say with approach, you don't approach properly. You're not coming man to woman. You're not giving her sexual vibes. You're not commanding enough, whatever it is you want to be. The rule of nature, represented by a woman, dictates you're going to fail. Doesn't matter how much you're worth. Interestingly, one of the female teachers, she got propositioned by one of these guys. No one I worked with, but she got propositioned, and that she told us about it, and it was like one of the most pussyish propositions they've ever. The guy said to her, "You're not gonna like this, but do you want to come upstairs with me?" So he's propositioning her with pre-phrasing it, "You're not gonna like this." So, you know, crazy fucking part of the world down there, man. Crazy part of the world. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So everyone's got their different stories. I think that's also a theme as well. I've seen it in one of my friends who he had a similar scenario. He had grandparents who were really wealthy. I think his granddad was a stockbroker, but he grew up essentially in a ghetto in Sheffield. And so he must have seen some wealth in his family, but then he's grown up in a ghetto. Um, and so that gave him like an external drive. Yes, I've just said there, nature's laws cannot be broken. That's actually very immigrant run. That's a very significant thing. A lot of these people hide behind money, though. A lot of these people hide behind money, and they know they do, and everyone else knows they do as well. So it's pointless because there's guys who don't, and there's guys who do, and there's girls who do, and there's girls who don't. It was interesting. I always remember there was a Japanese entrepreneur who was one of the fucking coolest guys ever. This guy was so fucking in shape. He was so well dressed. He was so measured. He honestly was one of the coolest dudes I've ever seen in my life. Um, he'd been a male model as well, so like he had the fucking looks going. He had the lot, this guy. But he was, yeah, I'd say he's about 50, but I always remember him going, wow, this guy's got it. Fuck, this guy's fucking made, dude. But yeah, he wasn't hiding anything. But some of these people definitely hide behind money. Um, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, to have some ego and stuff like that. If you're a big gun at the top there, they're fighting it out for business. They're all trying to show off and outdo each other. But yeah, you can definitely hide behind it. And that's why I had a disclaimer at the start of this stream. I literally hate all of this type of stuff. In terms of just this hobnobbing type shit. I just can't fucking stand it. It's not like, but it's not a resentment thing. It's just like, it's just, I see it as really common, to be honest. That's how it's, just to put it bluntly, I see it as common. I see it as peasant. I don't care how rich you are. It's a peasant way of operating. That's how I truly see it like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know what it is. The other thing as well is there can be a lot of approval seeking with it as well. And I see this with this new generation as well. This is there's a big approval thing, like, please like me. You've got something to prove because you've got X, Y, Z. I've got this, I've got that, I've done this, I've done that. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? I don't care. No one really cares. That's the sad part, is no one actually really fucking cares. What probably they would care about, let's say like friends and family, they wouldn't really care about the success of the money. They'd more respect, wow, this guy's actually fucking driven and he's really sticks with his word and he really comes through and he really pushes himself. He's a really good leader. It's actually more those things that they're going to care about. And you kind of know this because you could have a like a Kim Jong-un, for example, right? Does anyone respect that guy? Like, he's inherited a fucking country. He's inherited nukes. But yeah, that's a good point. Just the person. Trust, self-trust, and self-value. That's all it is. One of the guys I used to work with down there, we went out one night to a jazz bar, and there's a great jazz singer down there. There's a cool saxophonist and stuff, and I was just like, it's funny, isn't it? Because all these clients in here are all loaded, but those guys are on stage there, and they've got a lot of respect, here. They've got the most respect in this arena. And my mate goes, they've got aura, bruv. All these guys want is a little bit of aura. They bought a Ferrari because they just want some aura, but that girl on stage there, I remember the singer, she had an aura to her, and the cool little guitarist in the background. So yeah, that's something that can't be bought. It must be frustrating for people who've got that much money. If You can't even get a little bit of aura, you know. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing. Um, yeah, but that was a very extreme environment, to be honest. Most wealthy people who are doing well, just doing whatever they're doing, like fucking hell, even having a good salary. Most people are not in this type of world. That world is a very extreme world. It's a really extreme world. Um, even like the UK wealthy people are actually quite different from the people who go and live down there. That's a real particular bunch of people. Many of them are criminals. Many of the ones from like overseas, like Russia and Ukraine, so many of them are actual criminals. Dodge. But then there's also like lots of there's all sorts down there, man. It's weird. It's a weird spot. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. The jazz musicians, yeah, yeah. These were kind of like a soul band performing in the south of France. So yeah, they were a cool band, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Yeah, these little this is just another scene, isn't it, where people got over invested. And yeah, they're all smoking weed and stuff like that. So, oh, we've got some absolute boys in here. We've got Balthus, we've got Richie, we've got SB. Awesome, SB. How you doing, bro? How you doing? Um, I'm glad you made it, mate. I'm glad you made it. I almost sent you a message, so I'm going to do a live, but I thought, well, he might be in bed. I won't disturb him. Um, but yeah, Balthus, the cult of lost souls and self-doubting, insecure people. Sure, sure. That scene, there's like all that rave scene in the UK. There's a big rave scene that congregates around Bristol a lot around there, Manchester as well. These kind of cool ravers, will do all the pills and go out to Ibiza and stuff. I always had disdain for all of that. I just grow up, grow up. Just a bunch of you're just denying reality, okay? Just like mindless, immature escapism. It's just grow up. It's not cool. And those hard drugs as well, they fuck you up as well. Some of those guys at like 30, ketamine and stuff like that fucks you up, man. That totally fucks you up. And I don't think you can recover from some of the damage that does to you. You can't recover from. Um, so yeah, I've covered all that wealth stuff there, and it was such an interesting experience. Oh yeah, cheers, Eternal. That's very kind of you. I like your little symbol there. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. People have like maybe responding well to this. But yeah, that's a period in my life. I was down there at age 24. Now, ironically, while I was down there, I was actually having health problems myself. So it's interesting, health versus wealth. I was starting to have health problems myself, and I'm in this glamorous location, doing quite a good job, cool life. But I was having health problems, quite bad ones. Um, and I ended up having to come back to the UK at age 25 to have a major surgery. And even before my surgery, I got another fucking illness, which was actually very severe. And so I had a double whammy, age 25. And yeah, I can assure you at that point, I would have, there was nothing that I wouldn't have given to recover. Nothing. Like every single thing. I even did mental calculations where I was like, to recover my overall body health, how much of would I cut off two of my fingers? And I was like, yeah, I'd do it. So never mind my money. I'd literally cut off two of my fingers to have the rest of my body recover. That was unbelievably that was an unbelievable time. So I'm doing this glamorous job and I'm trying to keep it together. Eventually, the agent he started to clock. He's like, dude, I can see. We need to get you out of here, mate. Um, so yeah, so I ended up coming back to the UK. So that was age 25. So 25 to 27, I experienced some health uh, issues would be quite the understatement, to be honest. I had a 3-hour operation at age 26, I think I was 25, 26. And that wasn't even the end of it. That was the start. I had to fucking a year of recovery, maybe 18 months of recovery, dude. Honestly, practically 2 fucking years. Um, so yeah, that was an interesting time. And then I got the health back, and I've just been going on since then. Um, yeah, interesting to have that experience at such a young age. I know Senator Winner, he had an experience in his early 40s, and it's like that shit will really fucking make you look at the world. That'll make you look at your life, man. That'll make you look at your life. And actually, that's why after that, I was like, okay, I actually need to make big changes in my life because I'm on a second life, basically. I've got a second life. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just do everything I want to fucking do. I'm going to live a fucking amazing life. So I'll still have a career, but I'm going to focus on my social life. I'm going to go and do the dance stuff. I always liked dance, but I never really learned it. So I'm going to go learn salsa, kizomba. Eventually, I ended up having my own club promotion. So I did all that on the side, still had a responsible career, but I was just like, I'd actually experienced essentially like, you know, not a good place to be in where you're going, is that it? Am I done already? Fucking hell. I've not even lived yet. Yeah, Richie had a near death experience at 33. Yeah. So these things can definitely they can definitely screw with you. Yeah, I wish I had the LP back then because I think it would have definitely helped. I did have some stuff though. I did find some really good stuff, but not as good as the LP. Um, so yeah, health versus wealth. Health is 100% a winner 7 days a week. 100% a winner. Health, relationships, and wealth is an important. It's like a third of it. You know, health, relationships. It's cliche. Um, yeah, that's a fucking cliche in it. But having some wealth, yeah, and it's different for different people. For different people, some people would fucking be over the moon if they had 10 grand in the bank account. Some people would fucking probably shoot themselves. You know, so um, it's like it's all different. It's all different. Um, yeah, I'm so we've got all the boys in here today. So we've got a guy who just said he came to the channel from Eternal. Yeah, where are you from, Eternal? Um, yeah, so you almost had a stroke. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. Um, so yeah, so there's all sorts there. I mean, that's been a bit of a medley of thoughts, and that's actually the first time I've shared any of that information about Monaco. I went back again at 28 to kind of finish the chapter, and just did a year down there, and just I was more adult by that point. I was adult the first time I went. I was a fucking adult at 13, to be honest with you, but I was more adult at 28, and I'd had a bit more fun. I had a fucking gorgeous girlfriend when I went down there as well, and she'd come down and visit. Again, it's an interesting one. I remember one of the dads in these families like almost bumping into a lamppost, looking at my girlfriend's legs. She was a mixed race stripper from Sharrow. Yeah, bro. But she's like a genuine classic heart of gold. Um, and bro, this girl's body was fucking. It was a car crash body, dude. We went to a beach. We went to a beach, and this French guy, he was looking at us for ages, and I was just like, oh, standard French pervert. And I went to the bathroom, and I looked at what he was doing. He was drawing a picture of. He had a piece of paper like this, like my notes here. He was drawing a picture, and he'd drawn a picture of my girlfriend. Absolute French pervert. They fucking love black girls, the French man. She was mixed race as well. But yeah, so it's interesting. It's like the power of nature. Yeah, her body was like worth. You know what I mean? Power of nature. Nature cannot be effed with. Yeah, exactly. Rich, you've been down in Nice, bruv. You know what I'm saying down there. You know what I'm saying down there. If you are you been serious? You're from Cuba, mate. Are you actually been serious? ¿Me estás hablando en serio? De Havana? This is a fucking joke. You gotta be winding me up here, mate. Um, yeah, not in the streets. What I would say for Nice would be you need to go in summer. Um, um, you need to go in summer, and you need to go to the nightlife hotspots. You need to go to the elite hotspots. It costs you a fucking fortune. You spend 200 quid on 3 beers. Um, but yeah, there's some babes down there for sure. I used to. No, there's some real babes down there, dude. Any place with that much money, it does attract some babes. Well, certainly when I was there. The last time I was there was 2015. I went back at 28. But yeah, it's the first time I've ever talked about that phase of my life. I somehow feel like it's somehow immodest to talk about this. You know, like it's like I'm trying to hobnob or show off. Like there's maybe a prejudice there on my behalf. Maybe people find it interesting, but I just don't like to talk about it. Because it's kind of like it's bad enough when people hobnob. I think it's even stupider when it's like it's not even my wealth. So why would I show off about wealth that's not even mine? But it's interesting because you kind of get to experience it firsthand. Um, South Florida. Ay, hermano, ¿hablas español? Dame un mensaje en español. Si realmente eres de Habana, me tienes que contar algo en español. Um, I do believe you, by the way. I'm just winding you up, Eternal. But yeah, it's the first time I've actually talked about that whole phase. It is a super interesting thing to see though firsthand. Um, yeah. So yeah, my client list now is pretty much just normal people. To tell you the truth, it ranges international, quite international, but mostly just aspiring middle class people. You know, that's the crowd I like. You know, there's like they're good clients. You know, they're reasonable, normal clients, sane clients. They're actually grateful to get the work. They're grateful to progress. They're happy to work. Um, and yeah, that's the group I work with. I've got a friend who's continued on with that ultra high net worth, and I've noticed in sometimes the things he says to me, they're quite servile. His perspectives are quite servile to the wealthy, and like he sees it's just quite a servile mentality, which I just don't like. I just don't like it. I'd rather it's weird, isn't it? Maybe it's an ego thing, but I'd rather be positioning myself where people know my capacity, they know my experience, they know what I can do for them, and they're just happy. Okay, we like this guy as well as a bonus, and we can come and get his service, and this is good, right? This is good for all parties. My friend on the other hand is like, there's a lot of like, oh, he's kind of just trying to keep the client happy and all this type of thing, and I'm just kind of like, look, if my clients are shit, I'll just bin them, to put it bluntly, you know, or I'll give them a warning and I'll bin them, which I never do because they're never shit. They're always good. But very occasionally, like maybe once a year, I get that. I just prefer to work with sane people. Sometimes the richest clients are not the best. Sometimes. Um, yeah. So you've seen the other side, Richie. You've seen the other side. Um, now, yeah, the money side. But it's the psychology that comes with it. Now you're going to be correcting all of this in the coming weeks and months, and especially this weekend. So that's going to be cool. We've got Eternal here. Oh man, es que tengo un habanero aquí. Do you go back to the islands, Eternal? You go back to Cuba ever? This is what I'm trying to do here on this channel, is to build the international brotherhood. This is what I'm wanting to do. Number one thing I'm wanting to do, build the international brotherhood. We've got SB here in Bosnia. We've got Richie coming in from fucking everywhere, from Stockholm, from Moscow, from London. Fucking international man of mystery. We've got SB, yeah, Bosnia. We've got Balthus coming in from where are you coming in from actually, Balthus? Is Belgium still? Soon to be Egypt. Yeah, you go back a few times. I look like a software engineer. Fucking tremendous, dude. Do you want to see my FS91? See if I still look like a software engineer. Um, yeah, that's interesting. Um, how many have we got on this live? 7, yeah. I bet this live will get a few views, you know, because of the title. I'm trying to think. I'm going to think now. Uh, Yeah, exactly. What does a software engineer look like? I don't know. Shall I show you? Shall I show you my pecs? See if they look like a software engineer. Look at that. I wanted to go to the shooting range tonight. So this is the Balkans for you, right? People who work at shooting ranges are the most antisocial people ever. Most of the time, they're just like, but especially in the Balkans. So I messaged this guy. He doesn't message me back, and I call him later on, and just the tone is like, "Yes, I speak English." I'm like, "Yeah, hey, can I come? Can I book a shoot for tomorrow?" He's like, "How many?" I was like, "It's just me." He's like, like sighing, like he's pissed off. He's like, "What time?" I'm like, "Midday." He's like, "Okay, call 10 a.m. I tell you." So I've just got to call him tomorrow at 10, and there's fuck all I can do. I can't be like, "Your customer service is shit, mate," because there's not many shooting ranges, and the people who go are like who go, they really want to go, and they're kind of like, I think if you're around guns and stuff all the time, you kind of are a badass, to be honest with you. So like, they just don't give a shit at all. There's no like customer service, or very rarely anyway. Um, yeah, some of the Romanian ones. There's one in Romania that had quite good customer service. They were good because there were guys in the police who worked there, like at night and stuff. So I got training from some police in Romania. And the policeman was like, I was going quite a lot, and I was getting all right. I was actually getting fairly, starting to make improvements. And he was like, "Why are you doing this?" um, yeah, but I would definitely recommend shooting to anyone who's curious about it, especially guys in Western Europe where we have like firearms bans in many of these countries. You certainly on pistol, you can't get hold of a pistol. And I do think it's something that's I don't know. It's something that is like on a very primal level. You kind of have been stripped. You've kind of been stripped. I understand the legality. I'll understand why they've taken certain steps and certain systems. But I don't know. Romania is a big country. People aren't shooting each other up. Serbia is a big country. People aren't shooting each other up. Maybe they knew what was coming in the UK and they knew they needed to ban firearms because otherwise it fucking, you know, the tension. I think if you put a load of firearms into the UK with the drinking and the tensions that are in that country, I think, well, there's a lot of gun crime in the UK anyway, which is never reported. Um, yeah, exactly. So you were doing it in Moscow. Yeah, exactly. But I actually do think it's important. It's a bit like, just learning to just throw a right hand or something in boxing, or maybe even more fundamental than that, in my opinion, because it's the only true self-defense. It's the only true self-defense, in my experience. Well, not my experience, but in my opinion. Um, but even just beyond that, just as a pure exercise, it's like the zen of focus, the technique that you need, like, because there's a lot of technique in it. It's not just like point and pull the trigger. You got to pull the trigger in a really smooth way, isolating your finger, all this type of stuff. And then you get this explosive output, and it feels like very masculine, that side of things. It feels like, yeah, it's just a good feeling. Um, and yeah, I really get a lot from it. I've not shot yet in Bosnia. I'm hopefully going to go tomorrow. Well, and if not tomorrow, I'll go on Monday because I definitely want to shoot here. Um, yeah, so what I do for ears, mate. Let me show you what I do actually. Um, I've got the ear defenders here. Yeah, so you definitely don't want to. Yeah, so I use these. I use these. This is like a specific shooting earplug. So I'll put that in. Plus, on top of that, I'll also put the earmuffs as well. So I've actually got a double protection, which is unnecessary. But yeah, yeah, I'm very conscious of the ears. I remember the first time I went, uh, the first time I went this guy in Slovenia, this guy, our coach. This was such a story, man. My first time shooting in Slovenia. Maybe I'll go into this. Will be an epic stream if I go into that as well. How much is a shoot? So let me just get to these questions, then I'll go on to that. So yeah, you did it at 16. How much is a shooting session? Can you just walk in? Depends on the session. Depends on the place. Most places about 50% you got to book in advance. You just call them and just say, "Can I book in?" Or you just email them. In some cases, but basically you just call them pretty much in most places. I would say average is it works out about €1, £1 per round. So if you're gonna shoot, you've got to shoot 50 rounds. You want to shoot 50 quid's worth if you're gonna go. So yeah, normally it'd be about 50 quid for a shoot, and you can take your time with it. You know, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, it does add up if you're going a lot. To be honest with you, but it's like I put it on like a qualitatively different level of spending that 50 quid. Like I'd rather go to the range like 4 times than buy like a new pair of fucking trainers or something. Like I think it's that, but that's like those are retail prices. If you've got your own arm and then you've got your own bullets and stuff like that, obviously it'll be a lot cheaper. But yeah, it works out about £50 a session. So it's fine. If you want to go try it, just 50 quid. And a good thing you can do is just go less frequently, but you can train. You can train at home. So I'm not going to show you what I've got here, but you can train at home. So like if you've got you can get a replica, or you can get like an airsoft. I've got a replica here which I just train on, and then I can actually improve in between going to the range. So it's like much more cost effective. So if you want to actually make improvements, you have to go practically every day. Whereas you can make improvements just on your own at home, and then you just go down to the range almost to check if you've got any better, because there's stuff you can just practice. And I think it's a really good thing to learn. It's a really good thing to learn. They're trying to get gradually in Serbia. Yeah, yeah. You think the school shootings might have been a setup? Yeah. I mean, if Serbia gets cocked, that would be very depressing for me, because I think it's one of the most fucking. I think it's a pretty alpha fucking country, to be honest with you. So I fucking like Serbia. Yeah, I think like having control over it is important. Having controlled firearms, I think, is important. To be honest, you want to have some fucking control over it. But yeah, school shootings. It doesn't jive with Serbia. You're right. It doesn't jive with Serbia at all, actually. Um, yeah, there's breathing techniques. Yeah, there's breathing techniques. Aim and breathe. Um, Saudi Arabia, 2034, you'll be 34 years old. So you're 24 now. You're in Saudi, bruv. That's fucking interesting, dude. What do I think about it? I've never been. I've never been. I've got mixed feelings on Islam. Should we go down that route? Yeah, I've got mixed feelings on it. I think I've probably got, honestly, probably more positive feelings about it than most people in the West, to tell you the truth. I've actually got a lot of positive feelings about it, because I'm a Nietzschean guy, and he points out some interesting stuff. I think it's a strong culture. I would say it's much more than a religion. It really is a culture. Think of the most feared people in the world. Richie knows the answers to fucking Chechens, yeah. Russian Muslims, yeah. Like, yeah. He keeps non-political. Fair enough. It's not political. It's cultural. It's cultural. I mean, I'm living in a Muslim country now. I'm living in Bosnia right now. I'll be going to Istanbul, which is obviously Muslim as well. So yeah, there's aspects of it I definitely dig, and the stuff that I don't like, it's not the extreme stuff and that side of things. So I feel like that's a whole different question. One of the things I think for men in Islamic countries is, I think there's a real shunting of men towards being a family man super young. That's an unspoken thing that's not really talked about, but it's like this whole, you've got to be a family man super young. Um, and then there's a lot of policing of between the sexes, a lot of, and but there's the whole fucking, you know, again, this comes back to my theme. We can have social rules. Um, you can have religious rules of any religion, religious norms, and so on. But ultimately, the laws of nature will have a great say in everything. Will have a great say in everything. You know. So I've dated Muslim girls, um, and it's law of nature. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not from Saudi Arabia, obviously. Um, yeah, early marriage. Yeah, early marriage. I think men are shunted into it, and just being overall, there's almost fetishization of the kind of the family man. Um, I think, yeah, me and SB were talking about this. I think it's almost a fetish. Like it's over the top, in my opinion. Like if you have a family, yeah, you're a family man by default. Be a good dad, take your responsibilities. But I think like the best example are like dads who are actually going out there doing things and that type of thing, you know. Um, but that's not really even a criticism, to be honest with you. I mean, that's actually the same in Christianity as well. So it's not really a criticism at all. Um, so yeah, we are getting into some serious shit on this stream. Hopefully, I don't get fucking, you know. But I think I've actually just this is what I think, to be honest with you. So yeah, I'm pretty. I'll be going to the Blue Mosque in a couple of weeks. My friend who's meeting me out in Turkey, he's a white Muslim, so he's gonna meet me out there. And I'm not. I'm Christian, but we're gonna we'll go to the Hajj. Um, yeah, yeah, and I mean my take on it all is the laws of nature always apply, and they always have a say. You can try and override them, but I just kind of like I feel like you're overcomplicating life. Um, but yeah, in terms of like Saudi, I just don't really know that much about it, to be honest with you. As a place, just don't know anything about it, other than it's got a lot of oil. So been out to places in the Middle East. I've been out to Dubai, been out to Jordan, Petra. That was fucking amazing. That was sensational. That was sensational. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about on the live? Let me give you a story about my first time shooting, because I feel like this is going to be quite an epic live with all these different stories. My first time shooting is one of my favorite stories. I've got a lot of stories, but one of my favorite ones was my first time shooting, which was I'd shot shotgun before, so I'd like you can do that in England. So I'd been to those shoots before, always really enjoyed it, like clay pigeon shooting and shot and that type of thing. I was always a kid, you know, at the arcade who'd fixate on the guns. I've always been that way. So as soon as I had like the option, I was working remotely, and I was like, um, I don't know why I was like 36 or something. I was like, I feel like a cock that I can't shoot a live fucking firearm. So I need to find somewhere to shoot. So I'm doing my research, and I find a place in Slovenia, in the northeast Slovenia, yeah, which is a base. It's called the Lynx base. Yeah, you can Google it, Lynx. Yeah, this place is fucking crazy. It's where they literally train like they train like European military. They train private security, train police. The head trainer there is a guy. He's in the police, and he's also in the Slovenian Special Forces. He used to be in the Slovenian Special Forces. Terrifying guy, right? Fucking terrifying. So I rang this guy a couple of times. I think I rang him when he was actually out on the range. So I heard him like shooting and stuff. I heard shooting in the background, and I was like, "Yeah, I've never actually shot handguns before. Do you think I'll be alright to come out and train with you?" He was like, "Yes, fine. Just fine. You can book." I was like, "Right." So I book. I pay the money, send the money, and then I was supposed to do a 3 day one, which I'm glad I didn't, because that would have been way overkill, and I couldn't make it for the 3 day one. So I go out for the so I go out. I'd already paid for the 3 day, but they let me join onto a 1 day one. I'm living in Trieste at the time, northern Italy. So I get the bus across the border into Slovenia. You're going from the Latin world to the Slavic world. That is a fucking border and a half, let me tell you. Go from Trieste, Italy to Slovenia. Fuck me. You're going from west to east in a couple of hour bus ride. It's like literally like 20 minutes out of Trieste, That's a mad bus ride, dude. Like you get up, you winding up, going up these winding hills out of this beautiful, like Austro-Hungarian fucking Italian city, like, almost a city-state, Trieste, which is very quiet now because there's like depopulation and stuff, but it's still a beautiful place. But everyone's Italian looking, right? Then you get over the border and you see all the Slavic guards, like different facial structures, like wider, whiter skin, meaner looking. Fuck me, we're in Slavic lands, and we cross over. And then Slovenia, you've got the Slavs, but you've also got the Teutonics, the Germans and stuff, the Austrians. You've got that look as well. Particularly, they come down for like vacations and stuff. It's an interesting spot. Slovenia is really interesting in that sense. So get to Ljubljana, spend the night there, and I'm like, fucking hell, this is a great place, but I've got to get ready because I've got the shoot tomorrow. And so I think I went the weekend before to just like do reconnaissance of how I get there and stuff like that. And then for the shoot, I went back another weekend. So I was going back and forth from Trieste. So I get the train on like Saturday morning. I'm like getting up at like, whatever, 6 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever, get this train, 2 hours to northeast Slovenia, first train out. And I'm just like, this is fucking pretty mental, to be honest with you. No one knows I'm doing this either. Like, I'm not telling anyone that what I'm doing either. I'm just keeping it all to myself. My family still doesn't know I shoot, really. So, like, just whatever. Just keep it to myself. And I get there like maybe 8:30. This thing starts at 9:30. And I'm thinking, cool, it's the last stop. I'll just get a taxi. It's another 10 kilometers. I'll get a taxi from the train station. I'll get it over to Links, to the base. And I get out and I speak to the person at the information place. They're like, nah, there's no taxis here. I was like, what about buses? She's like, no buses. So I'm in northeast Slovenia, fucking the middle of literally nowhere. Last stop on the train station. This little box information. I'm like, fuck, okay. I go over the street. There's a little coffee shop, kind of like, like those US diners. It's that type of thing, like a diner coffee shop. I go in. Can imagine, right, an English guy walking in this backward part of Slovenia. Everyone turns around and looks at me just like I've got two heads, just like, what the fuck is this guy just walked in here? Like, I'm right proper staring at me, like it was just so weird. And then I chatted to the bartender. I was like, hey, do you know how I can get to the Link space from here? Like, and she's like, difficult. She goes, oh, I know the guy, and she knew like the main trainer and stuff. Like, I can imagine in that area, like there's probably a lot of people who pass through. So she was like, oh, just call the trainer. So I ring him. Classic Balkan response. I'm like, hey, what's up? Yes, Joseph. So I just got to the station and there's no taxis. I was gonna get a taxi, and he's like, no taxi. I'm like, right. Well, I just got in. Yeah, I need to get to the base, and I've got no way of getting there. And he just hangs up dead. Yeah. I'm like, okay, great. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if he's gonna come pick me up. I've got no fucking clue what's gonna happen. So I'm just sat there, just like, well, maybe I'll spend the morning with these people. I don't fucking know. I kind of knew that he was going to come and get me, to be honest. Like, but I wasn't sure, but I kind of deep down, I kind of knew. So I was just waiting around for about 15 minutes. Then I see this military Jeep pull up. The Jeep is gigantic, right? It's this crazily massive Jeep with the face of a lynx spray painted on it. I was like, well, yeah, guess my ride's here. So yeah, thanks for the coffee. Yeah, see you later. So I go out of the car park, get in. There's two guys in front of me, sat in front of me. The guy on the left is like the largest fucking human being I've ever seen. He's like about 3 times my width. Like, I'm just normal build, right? This guy is gigantic. Yeah. He's like a foot either side of the seat. It's just fucking huge. It's like a brick. Yeah, literally like a brick shit house, as we say in England. And then the main trainer, he's on the right hand side there. And he's like a mean, scary looking guy. He's also massive, but the other guy is so big, it just makes him look like a fucking, like normal, but he's not at all. He's fucking unit. He's got a mean looking face as well. But so I'm like, yeah, you're right, guys. Thanks for picking me up. Like, appreciate it. They just don't say anything. Just turn the car engine on. We just start driving. And I think I said one other thing, and then they didn't respond. I was like, okay, these guys don't want to talk. That's cool. That's fine. So like we just basically we're driving through the countryside. Frosty is an understatement for how these guys are acting. I was like, it almost felt like I was going to I was like going to be taken to an interrogation or something. Like the energy was such hostility coming back at me. And then we're driving through the forest, we're driving through the fields. It's fucking a grey November, fucking late November in Slovenia. I'm thinking, fuck me, like, what have I got myself into here with these guys? Eventually, after about 15 minutes, about 10 minutes, the guy's like, the driver's like, Joseph, how did you find us? And I was like, found you on the internet. So there's a little bit of combo. They lightened up, like they didn't lighten up, but we had a bit of conversation. And actually, they were fairly cool. The guy was just like, yes, so today, like, it's mainly police training. It's gonna be in Slovenian, but we have one guy like he talks English. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll sit next to him then. So this is bearing in mind this is my first time shooting a pistol. Yeah, at 37 or 36. So I was 37 by this point. It's my first time. So I'm like, this is a baptism of fucking fire, let me tell you. So we get up, we pull up to the base, I get out, I'm like, fuck me, this is a proper fucking base, dude. Like grey fucking stone, wooden turrets, like, you know, those like turret houses that you look down, the fucking snipers look down and stuff. Yeah, like barbed wire and shit around it, the fucking link symbol on. And then the guys pulling up, like the other guys who are training and stuff, they're all like, you know, everyone is just like serious looking, like no conversation or no chit chat at all. So we eventually get in there. I'm just like, fuck me, this is crazy. This place, the first thing it reminded me of was like on films where, you know, where there's a firing squad and you just line someone up at the end and you just shoot them dead. That's what this place just reminded me of, like a fucking the scene of a Soviet fucking death camp or something, like Soviet fucking firing squad. It's absolutely fucking freezing as well. It was absolutely fucking freezing, and so the guy's giving the training, and we start up. I sit down next to there's a guy who speaks English. He's younger, he's about my age, but probably about a bit younger than me, but about 30, 32 or something. He speaks. And we have a bit of chat with him. I'm like extremely relieved to find an ally in this situation, just like someone I can talk to a little bit. And the main like trainer's giving us all the spiel. I'd already like researched a lot online of what to expect and everything your first time out. I basically was like, my principle was just keep the gun pointing forward, keep a hold of it, grip hard, and just shoot, and that's it. Don't obviously aim to hit the target, but it doesn't even fucking matter. It's your first time. You just need to get the bullet going forward. So yeah, so that was my plan coming in, and then the trainer eventually, like after he's given the whole safety thing and stuff, you know, it's all very professional. But then we go to the front, and he's like telling us about the drills we're going to be doing. We're going to be putting a lot of rounds down the range, and he was a fucker, this guy. When he was yeah, I think I think this just right at the start. He was like, yes, like try not to shoot yourself because you know, I have to take you there, bury you, take long time. This guy was like such a fucking joker. But he said it with like a really serious face. And then just as we're about to start, just when he's showing us the activities, he loads a round in, and then he just fucking shoots one, and we're all like 5 meters behind him, like 3 meters behind him. So if you know the volume, right, the volume is fucking crazy, even from a pistol. And everyone's ears. I had my ear. Fortunately, I had that little ear defender. I had it in already, and my ears were still fucking ringing. My ears were still fucking ringing. So like, so yeah. So he fucking shoots the pistol, and everyone's like, obviously everyone's ears are ringing, and we all just kind of like look at each other like, oh fuck's sake, that was painful. But I know why he did it. He was doing it to make sure that we were alert. He was doing it to actually make sure. He was doing it to make sure. I'll get to comments, guys, but I'll just finish the story. He was doing it to make sure we were switched on. That's why he did it, and it definitely worked because it's like, guys, there's going to be 15 of you in a row shooting rounds down at the same time. I need you fucking switched on. And he didn't need to say it because he just fucking shot. Fucking everyone knew what was going on. So we get going. We're doing all these exercises. First time, I can kind of vaguely remember the first shot just being like, well, that was just like having an explosion go off in my hand. That was pretty fucking awesome. And then just continuing to shoot forward. I did manage to hit the target actually, like the first lot. It was two hands and stuff like that. I did manage to hit the target. Richie, bruv, I've established you don't like the East, bruv. You told me about 100 times. I like it, yeah? I'm going to defend these Slovenian thugs. But yeah, we're shooting down range. And it's like round after round after round. We're doing reloads. Then we go on to a single hand shot. Then we go to a left hand shot. First time out, I think I probably put about 200 rounds down. My first ever time in line with like all these other people. The guy was like trying to get me to improve my grip and stuff. He puts a bullet on top of the gun and he's trying to get me to hold it and stuff like that and stuff like he's like shouting at me and stuff like that. It was fucking awesome. I actually loved it though. This is my dream. Like this is what I'm here for. The guy next to me as well. It's funny that there's police there. There was the trainer there. The trainer was fucking sick. The police were good. There's a woman there who was good. The best guy there was the guy who spoke English, who was next to me. That guy was he was a fucking Sicario, dude. He was getting bulls from like all distances, like almost like 20-meter bullseye, which is fucking hard to do with a pistol. It's borderline impossible. Well, no, it's not impossible, but that's very, very, very elite. He was getting bulls, and I was like, whoa, this guy's fucking cool. It's good he's giving me advice and stuff. Like, it's good to be next to this guy. So we have all this thing. We're like doing all these reloads. Like, it's like the best fucking day of my life, basically. The guy's shouting at me. It's like fucking awesome. And then like at the end, I get my certificate. That's actually like a level 1 certificate in pistol training that I actually got that day, my first time out, because we did so much. And yeah, it's obviously like a professional trainer and stuff. It's funny as well because I'd taken his shit that he'd been giving me all day, the trainer. At the end, he was like, "Yes, Joseph." Like, you know, he like gave me like a little punch or something. I can't remember what he did, but he was quite affectionate towards me. So was the big meathead as well. So it's kind of like I feel like I've had this in Macedonia as well with the guys in Macedonia. I feel like I passed their test. You know, they were like bullying me a bit, but I quite enjoyed it. It was like quite fun, and then I passed the test and I was accepted. And so yeah, so the guy who was next to me who spoke English, he's going back to Ljubljana. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll get a lift with you if that's all right, mate. It saved me getting another train back. And he was like, yeah, awesome. So we drive back and he's telling me about the history of Slovenia. He's telling me about his life. Same bullshit in every country. Everyone's trying to scrape a living together. And it's like, I was like, and I was like, just in my head, I was like, this guy was fucking amazing at shooting. I was like, so what'd you do actually, mate? And I thought he might be police or something. He's like, I'm a librarian. So he's a fucking librarian. This guy was out shooting even the military, and he's a fucking librarian, dude. It was fucking crazy. So that was my first time shooting. It's my first and still my best time. It was like the most crazy baptism of fire. I got back and like all my fucking face and my body stank of gunpowder and stuff like that. It was fucking mental. I got back and I was like, wow, that was a fucking crazy day. And then I think I didn't shoot for probably a couple months until I got maybe about 6 weeks until I got to Romania. And then I started going like pretty much every week. And then since then I've been just trying to do as much as I can. But yeah, that was my first time out. First time shooting, I fucking was, you know, training with the Slovenian police, man. It was fucking demented. Yeah, it was such a cool experience. So we'll see what happens with these Bosnian guys tomorrow. Let's see if it's not going to match that experience, but let's see what's going on with them. So we've got out a few questions. We had Richie dissing the East, fucking racist Richie. SB, I saw you put something about Yugoslavia, but then you deleted it. I was going to get to it, mate. I saw something there. Yeah, so Richie's had military education. Dude, you keep this shit to yourself, bro. You keep all this shit to yourself. Dude, you should literally be rolling around like actual Al Pacino, just like, you know. I bet you've got a fucking Bratva tat somewhere on your body, haven't you? That's the next thing coming out. The Bratva. Westernizing himself. Yeah. Richie's visited Slovenia. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Ljubljana's all right. To be honest, I was thinking of going out in January to shoot again, to go and shoot at links again. I'm still thinking about it, but the fucking flights from Istanbul, the flights from Istanbul are like fucking 400 or 500 quid. Some airports are just weird to get to, and Ljubljana's fucking expensive, man. Ljubljana's fucking expensive. It's just not worth it. It's like, what's so good about it to be that expensive? You know, it's nice, yeah, but SB, yeah, it was something about Yugoslavia or something, but yeah. So SB was schooling me on the old Yugoslavia. I've been learning more about it. It's like an area that we were talking about, saying it's like an area in English education. You won't even hear the word Yugoslavia in the English education system. It just doesn't ever come up, you know. Actually, it was a pretty significant entity, and the whole, you know, the Holy Roman Empire and all that type of shit. Like, it was all, yeah. Oh, mate, you're in surveillance state, bruv. It's a good job you've got about 25 identities, yeah, and probably 7 passports. You're in the surveillance state, broski. They'll be rooting through your bins, mate. FSB is nothing compared to what's going on in the UK, man. It's fucking demented. It's demented, man. It's demented. Yeah, dude. It's crazy. That's a crazy. You know, when you actually move abroad and stuff, I think the UK has got one of the craziest surveillance systems and propaganda systems, and it's crept up on us. And it was probably always there to a point, but it's got crazy out of hand the last 10 years. I don't even fucking know what to say, to be honest, with the UK situation. It's fucking crazy. So we've been going a while here, but yeah, the start here was money versus health. Obviously, health wins, biology wins, nature wins. The laws of nature always apply. I'll delete them, mate. I'm going to delete them, don't worry, right? Get rid of this comment here. Oh, shall I pin it? I'll put you in a timeout. Yeah, I think you'll be all right, mate. I think you'll be all right. That's if we don't know the extent to which he influences the UK. He influences. We don't even know who really runs it, dude. But we know he influences it. But some of the stuff, like, this is a thing with. I don't even want to talk about politics. I'm not even going to go and talk about it. It's just bullshit. I can't be asked to talk about it. But yeah, I'm a vitalist. Physique, you know, cold approach, strength, fresh air, good food, good women. You know, what can be better? The blood of your enemies, the sounds of the women's lamentations, whatever Arnold Schwarzenegger says. Yeah, that's the life, man. The vitalistic life. That's the life I aspire to, anyway. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about on this live? I just did a quick video on. I've done a couple today, actually. One of them was on keeping things simple with our approach and with our lives. I think it's fucking important. And actually, Balthus was a big. He kind of inspired me to do that video, because he was just like, yeah, I just fucking went over to approach. Fuck it. Grandmaster, dude. Sorry. I'm sorry, bruv. You're out. Sorry. But yeah, Balthus actually gave me some inspiration for that video, because it's like, yeah, it's just simple. It's fucking simple. And again, I go back to biology, the human ape. Like, keep it fucking simple, you know? We don't need to overcomplicate anything. Keep it simple. And then the other video I did was on knowing what you're doing wrong. So it's like being positive about what you're doing right. How do I get this guy out? Yeah, I've got rid of him. Yeah, Masters, you're out, mate. Sorry, not interested in your stupid questions about Real Madrid. This is a serious channel, right? We're talking about life, we're talking about cold approach, talking about like proper stuff. But yeah, the video I did the second video I did today was about knowing what you're doing wrong. This is actually a really big point. It's a really big point. One of the biggest issues people have in cold approach, but in anything in life, is your biggest blind spots are by definition, you can't see them. So there's things you're doing wrong, you don't even know you're doing wrong. That's a big problem. It's a big problem in cold approach, but it's actually a problem in everything, basically. That's what I said to Christian actually this week. I just said, like, just make a comment on my channel, please. Tell me a mistake I'm making. And he goes, all your titles are wrong. I'm like, great, brilliant. That's something I can easily address. Just try and improve the titles a little bit, you know. And actually, to be honest, probably practically everything on this channel is wrong, but whatever. That's just one thing I can actually improve on. But it's the same with cold approach. And the stuff you're doing wrong, the stuff that you probably know you're doing wrong, but the true blind spots, you can't even see. You can't even see. So that's the biggest question you can ask people, like if you're out on sessions, or actually just in life in general, is if you got the nerve to just ask the question and just accept the answer, and at least take it on board, just go, what am I actually doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? So that's what I said to Christian about the channel. But there's, you know, this could apply to cold approach as well. Nah, you don't need to be paranoid, Richie. I'll tell you right now what I've seen you do wrong, because I said it in the video. But you're not going to do paranoia. You know what I'm saying, bro? Nah, no one's reading it, mate. Trust me, if you've seen the comments I've made on other channels, don't even worry about it, dude. There's stuff on like history channels and shit like that I comment on. I don't give a fuck, dude. Yeah. This is why, for example, now I spoke to Ephraim a couple of months, like maybe 6 weeks ago, on this, or maybe 8 weeks ago or something, and I was like, to be honest, if I was in the US, I would go and do sessions with Ephraim, and I'd even maybe actually still, even at the stage I'm at now, get him to coach me. I'd pay him just for a day session. Why is that? Even though we might be a similar ability, probably around about a similar ability now, but it's because there might be a blind spot I've got that I can't still see, or just there might be just one thing, and especially for guys at the start, and if it's like the start of your approach, that there probably are quite a few blind spots that you're just not seeing. Yeah, yeah, the Moscow, bruv. Yeah, dude, I'm honestly more afraid of the UK apparatus than FSB, and I'm definitely somewhat afraid of FSB as well. But yeah, SB. Yeah, actually, there was one more thing I was thinking about that as well, is for our close. So I mentioned this to Christian this week. So for that session there, yeah, solo approach, it's not as fun, is it? It's not as fun. But just to come back to SB's point here, for that session, we had a close early on. The actual close there, and I'll give again, because I've done so many. I'm not pulling this out of my arse. I know that this is what happened. That close there wasn't really a proper close. It wasn't really a proper close. So what we should have, if we wanted to close them there, I was actually kind of taking it as a warm-up, to be honest, just as a fun thing to do. But if we wanted to take it further there, they weren't ready. they definitely liked us like quite a bit, I would say, but they weren't ready for like, we're gonna meet you tonight. That was too much, way too soon. We should have continued on. We should have had an instant date with them, walked with them, and taken them for coffee. We'd obviously just had coffee ourselves, but that's what we should have done. And if we spend, let's say we spend 90 minutes with them, 90 minutes, solid chance they'll meet us again. Maybe not that night, but solid chance they'll meet us again if they're staying around for a bit. Yeah, solid chance. Because you went for the close. You went for the close and then arranged the date. That was a little bit forced. That was a little bit forced. It's good to go for the close. Like, it's good practice to go for the close and arrange the date. It's actually what you should do. But just because of the situations, I've been in this situation so many times in the street, they weren't quite ready for it. And I could see it was just like, they're going to give us a number. They might even agree to meet, but I don't think we've got enough purchasing power in this situation yet. They just don't really know us. They've just had a nice little experience. And actually, what we should have done then, having left them, we should just carried on and done a session. Like, if we weren't on a session, we were just hanging out. But if we were on a session, we should have just used that as the first approach. Let's just do at least three or four more, and get a few more numbers. And then maybe if we find another group who are good, then whatever. But it was just, we were just doing it to hang out. But if I were to break down why they didn't meet up, it would be that. And if you think about those two girls, especially the blonde one, that blonde one, to me, maybe to you, she's like a normal girl, Slavic girl. To me, she was quite exceptional. If she'd been in the UK, people would be fucking losing their minds over that girl. Like, because she's very different looking. She was like super white, like perfect blue eyes, like perfect blonde hair. Richie, you would have loved this girl, man. She was fucking, but different but anyway, very beautiful, very beautiful. Even the other one was fit as well, but there was one who was really beautiful. If I was her and two guys came up to me in the street and I liked them, they were cool guys, and we had a good conversation, I would not be saying, oh, well, let's meet those guys tonight. I just wouldn't be. I'd just be like, I would know, I'm like, yeah, they were cool guys, but I'm a diamond, so I'm just going to bide my time. I don't have to go meet those guys. So whereas if we spent 90 minutes with her, it would be, even then it'd be more like, oh, actually, yeah, I kind of like those guys. Yeah, yeah, let's go meet them. Or maybe next time if they're in town or whatever. She's a premium product, and she has every right to act as if she's a premium product, as do we as well. But for me, a girl like that, I'm not. I'd say a 90-minute approach is probably what I would be looking at there. His classmate from back in the 90s. Oh my god. Yeah. So, but anyway, exactly. It's a learning experience. Compliments are really important because, yeah, well, let's talk about it on the live, Richie. Sorry, not Richie. If I'm getting my wings mixed up here. But SB, yeah. If you want to do an accountability thing, because you're not in the entourage, if you want to do an accountability thing with me, you can do. We can do an 8-week accountability thing if you want. Because you're out on a limb out there. I almost proposed it to you, but I was just kind of like, no, let's just enjoy ourselves. But we don't need to talk anything too serious. But if you want to do that, we could actually do that. And then for me, it would be like, well, I mean, I'll just do it anyway as a mate. But maybe in 8 weeks, you might have got 20 conversations done. It'd be interesting to like come back and say, okay, how did that go? How's it been for you? So yeah, that's on the table. If you're interested in that, SB, that's on the table for you, an accountability thing. And we could just go, okay, let's do X number of approaches this week. It would be very limited. It would be like, maybe 3 or something. And it wouldn't even be necessarily asking for dates with all of them. Part of it would just be like getting started, just getting used to stopping people. Yeah, that's the thing, because you're out in the countryside. That's the thing. What you think? I'm just going to open Richie's message. What are you thinking, SB, in terms of your next port of call, like bigger cities? You're talking about going to, was it up to Vienna? If you can get to Belgrade, if you get work in Belgrade, it's fucking sweet, dude. Oh, that is such a Rus. Is this a Ruska, Richie? Ruski. That she's your classmate. She, Ruska. Bro, honestly, I was losing my Irina. I was losing it over the Russian girls in Belgrade, dude. I was losing it. They're my favorite white girls. Um, they fucking. I just love their. They're just so. I just love the no bullshit attitude. It's so refreshing. There's so much bullshit with fucking Western girls. It's just like, and they're just like, yes, nobody will care if you will live or you will die. Well, one girl I met, she was like, yes, this. She had a boyfriend, but she was just like, we actually ended up having quite a good friendship, to be honest. She's a young, smart girl, and it's like, I don't know anyone in the city, so it's great to hang out. It was a cold approach, but anyway, it ended up hanging out. And she wasn't, I mean, she was attractive, but she wasn't like crazy attractive or anything like that. I was like, I'm not being cocked here. Like, she's just a cool chick. But the first time we went out, she was like, oh, yes, me and my boyfriend, we take antidepressants, just like so, so fucking frank. You would never get someone, you'd know someone for years in England and they never tell you something like that. Yeah, you're aiming for Western Europe. Yeah. SB, you'll be fucking dangerous in Western Europe, mate. You'll be fucking dangerous. The Balkan boys, when they get to Western Europe, we had a member in the entourage, a legend of the entourage, to be honest, who got kicked out for consistently obscene and disrespectful engagements. But he was a Balkanoid. And he did fucking well, dude. He did fucking well. Let me tell you. He was a beast, man. Yeah. Yeah. Old Tomo. Um, I'd like to see him, to be honest with you. I'd like to see him at some point. He's the kind of guy, honestly, I actually like going out with guys like that because shit's gonna happen. If I went on a night out with him, I'd be like, yeah, some shit's gonna happen. He might get arrested, but it's gonna be fun. Those are the type of guys I quite enjoy going out with. But he was, yeah, he was a bit too much in the entourage. Yeah. Now, the thing is, though, honestly, it's not what the UK is like. It's not. It's what he's like. This is what you've got to learn, Richie. It's not what the place is like so much, especially the UK. It's what you're like. It's what you're like. And he is a caveman, dude. He is a primitive. But yeah, I mean, London daytime, sure, but London nighttime, you can do the same shit. You can do the same shit, dude. You definitely can do the same shit. London's quite promiscuous, to be honest with you. Well, quite is an understatement. But daytime, yeah, the city workers and all this type of shit. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think the thing is for you, Richie, you found your honeypot. So just like I'm out in the Balkans at the moment, and I've got this thing in my mind where I'm like, oh, I'd love to. I've got an image of myself like having a cool Balkanoid type of girlfriend or a Rusky girlfriend, but it's just an image because I've watched so many Bond films. That's literally what it is. I was raised on Bond. Those super babes from like the Pierce Brosnan days. They're often Russian, but actually, like the only ones that do it for me, the ones who are a little bit thick. The thick ones have either got massive tits or like a massive ass, but they're a little bit wider. But I'm just like that. That will give me more satisfaction. The normal modelish ones, I'm just unless she's some kind of a super athlete, I'm just not going to do it. Paddy, you ever been to Brazil? Paddy Brady. He's saying a Brazil woman the hottest. Um, but yeah, a lot of people. I don't know. I do rate them though. I rate their prowess as women. They take a bit of getting used to though. Balkan girls for sure. I'm still not really used to them. Um, but yeah, I do like them. Yeah, Brazil. I'll be honest, mate. I've been out in Brazil. I've lived in Brazil. I wouldn't say they're even close to the hottest. They wouldn't even be in my top five, mate. To be honest with you, sorry. Whereabouts in Brazil were you? I'm not. It's to be honest, it's fucking cool you went to Brazil, but honestly I was quite disappointed with the women. If I'm being truthful, in Brazil, I found there was a lot that were just uh, Rio. You really think Rio girls are that hot? Really? Uh, AJ, I don't know who AJ is, but um, I'm gonna time him out because this is a little bit weird, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. I think maybe he's lashed. Put him in a timeout. It wasn't disqualification material. Yeah, reckon you could stick your head in a Brazilian. I actually don't mind that. It's an insulting comment, but I don't really mind it. Um, yeah, Rio. I found they were either skinny favela girls. Um, uh, I'm getting rid of these two clowns, man. Sorry, I'm just getting rid of these clowns. Pattaya, is that Thailand? Pattaya, where is it? Thailand, right? Taylor's Taylor's concerned for AJ. I just put people who make dumb comments. I just put them in. I just put them in. I just bin them off the live because I know people are going to watch it back afterwards. I'm not going to spend time talking about those things, and I've got Entourage guys here as well, so I don't want to. I've got SB here as well. I want to talk about fun things. No, it's not about black women, mate. They're mostly not black in. They're mostly not black in Rio. They're mostly mulatta, quite light mulatta. But I found most of the girls to either be skinny favela girls or quite fat, just quite fat, to be honest. And Salvador was the same. I know what you're saying though, in terms of the fittest, the absolute tens in Brazil are maybe the fittest girls I've ever seen. The tens, but there's a dearth of sevens and eights. There's nowhere near enough. And I think, like, according to people who've lived there a long time, they've said like the quality has gone down like almost immeasurably because of American food. I mean, fuck me, the Salvador de Bahia, the fucking obesity with the women was disgraceful. There's so many, it was like almost American style. But then you do see the fittest of, yeah, then the fittest of the fit. The there was a Miss Universe that I approached in the mall. Probably the hottest girl I've ever approached, to be honest. Yeah, probably. Um, it's like with that, I almost am glad that that we actually had an amazing conversation. I closed her and stuff, and we had some back and forth, but never met her. Kind of petered out, and it's like, fair enough. Her options are like Neymar. Do you know what I mean? Like she could be literally, she could be dating Neymar. We had great vibes. She appreciated my balls. She appreciated my personality, but like legitimately, like I'm a good option, but I'd have a little bit more to show. I think for a girl like that, Miss fucking Universe. But she was in Salvador, but that's not the average. She was the unicorn. The average I thought was fucking poor. Actually, poor in Salvador de Bahia. I thought the same in Rio. The peak girls are incredible, but the average I think is quite poor compared to other countries I've been in. The Balkans is way hotter. Belgrade is way hotter. Um, Italy's way hotter. Turkey's way hotter. Dominican is not even comparably hotter. Um, and that's just the places I've been. I've not been that many places. I've been some places, not that many. Um, yeah, Eastern Europe. Yeah, Lithuanian, Polish. I rate Polish. Yeah, but yeah, of course, fitness is always a personal preference. Of course, we like, for example, like Richie's got a penchant for the old Svetlanas over there, the old Nordics, and they just, I can see why, and I do find them nice to look at. My eyes like them, but they just don't do anything for me. Like I've thought about it. I'm like, could I even get it up for a girl like that? I don't even know if I could. to tell you the truth. That's how little they do for me. Um, so yeah, so it's exactly. So you're into blondes, so you're just not into Latinas at all. Yeah, I'm into Latinas and black girls basically, and I quite like Middle Eastern as well. I'd probably like them more if they weren't so forbidden. But yeah, yeah, it's like why am I in the Balkans? I like black girls and Latinas. What are you doing in the Balkans, Joseph? Um, I'm on a fucking monastic here. I'm just hitting the cold approach, and there are some fit girls here to be fair, but there's girls that get your blood boiling, and that's Latinas and black girls for me. And then the white girls, Western European girls, yeah, they are fit. I do like them and stuff. Probably, maybe would want to date them. I don't know, but ooh, this is what I like. Rishab, thank you for the comments. Azerbaijan, yeah, yes. This is what I like to see. So we're building an international bratva here. This is the goal of this channel. First and foremost, before we start making any money or before we start taking over the world, or I start becoming Dan Bilzerian and charging £1 million, which I'm never gonna fucking do. But the goal of this channel, in jokes aside, the goal of this channel is to create an international brotherhood. We had a guy from Cuba earlier on. Where are you from, Kaira? Are you from Azerbaijan? Yeah, you go to Latinas, you never go back. Yeah, dude. Dominican is mixed race Latinas. Good luck with that, mate. You're fucked. You're fucked. You'll go there. It's game over. It's game over. It's game over. Who are competitive about being hot and good in bed and cooking. It's game over, mate. It's finished, dude. I'm 39 now, so I'm doing my last little jaunt in Europe, and I think after 40, you ain't gonna see me in Europe too much. Nah. Man, this live is going on. I'm actually loving this live, but I'm gonna wind it up pretty soon. Has anyone got anything else to say? We've got Richie. Yeah, you're not into black girls. Nah, it's not racist, dude. It's not racist. Oh, you have people have preferences. It's nothing to do with racism. If you say I would you know, I don't know, I would like I want to stone these people to death, then you're a racist, yeah. But if it's just like I'm not attracted, yeah, I'm not racist towards Swedish girls, but I just can't. I don't know. I get bored looking at them. I feel a bit like that with the Balkanoid girls as well. I'm just bored already. We've only been talking for a minute. Mexico, yeah, Mexico is a good angle. Yeah, not been yet. La DF. Right, boys. This live has been fucking awesome. I think I've shared some crazy stories on this live. Some stories I never thought I'd actually share, to be honest with you. I didn't actually sign a non-disclosure agreement, so I've still kept a lot of privacy for those people. I don't have to be honest with you, but I just have done from earlier in the live. But yeah, health is number one, my brothers. Physical, spiritual, mental health, and relationships, and then obviously you need some wealth in there as well. You need some wealth in the locker. It's been a fucking tremendous live. Good question, mate. I'm flying to Istanbul next Friday, so I don't know if I'll be able to do a live before then. I'll try and do one a week, mate. I'll try and do one a week. Thanks for asking me. I should. This is what I need. More professionalism. I need my audience of 7 people to know. We're on 6 at the moment. To know when I'm going to be live next. But if you want to subscribe, mate, you can see a lot of other videos on my channel. I do post a lot, and it's content. It's really just thoughtful content about travel, and particularly relationships, and something called daytime cold approach, which is what we in the entourage do. We're daytime cold approach guys. It's a really cool thing to do. It's really good for self-development, and so it's going to be a romantic way to meet your future wife. Moving forward, the square root of 33, mate. You got me stumped. I'm timing you out there, bruv. 24 hours. I love the power of just being able to kick people out. This is my nightclub, yeah? It's my Friday night. I fucking boot people out. So yeah, boys, Richie, SB, Balthus, Paddy, Rishab. Who else made good comments? There was a guy earlier on who was from Cuba. I think he's gone now, but thanks to him as well, El Cubano. The international brotherhood is forming. Yeah. We have to get a little Templar tattoo on our chest here. We can do a little secret meetups around the world, non-disclosed locations all over the world. Take over. Boys, la noche. God bless. Have an absolutely sick weekend, everyone. I'm going to be out, hopefully down at the shooting range tomorrow, and then I'm going to be out doing a few little approaches. My last weekend here in Bosanski, in Bosnia. Take it easy, boys.